Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make a cute little turkey for the upcoming holiday season. And here's what he looks like. I think he turned out really cute. You can see for the background feathers I used red, orange, and yellow, and then I just have black connecting them at the top. And then for the main turkey I used this darker brown and then yellow and of course red for his little waddle. I'm going to be using the rainbow loom today to make this, and for this first section that I'm going to show you, which is going to be the tail feathers, I have removed the row of pins that's all the way to the left. So I just have these two rows right next to each other, and I have the pins in line with one another. And for my colors, I have 81 brown bands, 40 yellow bands, 36 orange, 37 red, 32 black, and then I have one single clear band. Of course, if you'd like, you can change the colors of the tail feathers, but I had just decided to stick with the fall type colors. So I'm going to begin on the right hand row. I'm going to go to the 7th pin up from the bottom, and I'm going to take 2 black bands at once. For this tail feather section, I'm always using 2 at once, and it's just going to go straight across. And it does need to twist, so I'm just going to put them together as if they're one band and twist them together. And now I'm going to start with my first color, which is going to be red. And as I said, I'm always going to be doing 2 bands at once together. And they're going to work from this top pin on the right here and come down. So 2 bands will come to that pin below. And then I'm just going to work my way down here, doing 2 at a time. And I'm going to do 6 sets of these bands. So that's my third. And then I have one more set. It's going to come all the way to the bottom here. As a matter of fact, let me just zoom my camera out a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is take the clear band. This is going to be the center band that holds it all together. And I'm going to double this. So I'm placing it on my hook, twisting, and putting it back on. And it's just going to go right on this pin at the bottom here. And now what I'm going to do is put my hook inside, push back on the 2 clear bands, grabbing the bottom 2 here, and just moving that up. And then I'm just going to continue looping the rest of this row. All the way to the top here. And now I'm going to place another set of black bands. The black bands are always going to go in the same spot here, straight across the top. And now I want to get these red bands, get them all at once here, and I'm just going to slide them onto the center. And then I'm just going to release the rest of these all the way down. But I am going to leave this cap band on, and it will start to get really stretched out as you keep adding these, but that's okay. And then one more thing, I want to remove the bottom 2 black bands from each of the sides. So I'm just taking 2 at once there. And now before I do the next color for the feather, I'm going to add one more set of black bands on here. I'm going to do that in between all of the feathers. I'm going to have one set of black bands that's like a spacer. And now I'm going to remove the bottom 2 again from each side and push that down. So now for my next color, I'm going to do orange. But instead of going down this right hand row, I'm going to go down the left hand row. So again, it's 2 at a time, and it's always working from the top down. That's important because if you start at the bottom and work up, when you go to loop, it's not going to work out. So again, we're going all the way down to the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is grab this cap band, or this center band, these clear bands, and I'm going to grab it from underneath, pull it off of that pin, and then I'm just going to slightly turn my hook, and from that inside edge I'm going to slide this on. And now I can loop this row, so I'm just pushing back, and the orange is going to come up, and I'll just work my way up here. And now once again, I'm putting another set of black bands on. And now the orange is going to slide off into the middle. And then I'm also going to do the bottom 2 black from each side. And now I can release these orange bands. Whoops. And I am just going to leave that clear band on. You can see it is getting stretched out, but that's okay. And now I'm going to do another set of black. It's going to just space these feathers out just a little bit. And then take off the bottom. And so I'm just going to continue on in this pattern, and I'm going to do yellow next, and then I'll go back to red, orange, yellow, and so on and so forth. I'm going to actually end on orange. I'm going to do 3 sets of red, 3 sets of orange, but only 2 sets of yellow. So let me just show you this one more time. I'm alternating rows, so I'm doing opposite of where the cap band is. So now I'm going to do it on the right hand row, and I'm switching to that yellow color. Just working my way from the top down. And now once again, I want this clear cap band to move over to the other side so I can do the looping. So I'm taking it from the bottom, pulling it off, and then just slightly turning my hook, and then from that inside edge I'm going to slide that on. And now I can continue the looping. So once you continue to add these, you can imagine that that cap band is going to get very full. And now another set of black. And now the yellow can slide onto the center there, and then remove the bottom 2. Going to take off the yellow. Push this down. You want to make sure that this cap band stays down to the bottom. And now I'm doing one more set of black to space it out. So I am just going to fast forward here, and I'll just continue on with the same pattern. My next row will start on the left hand side, working from the top down, and I'll do my next feather color, which is going to be red again. So when I get all of this done, I will show you the next step. When you've completed your last feather, so you can see I've ended on orange and I did 8 in total. This cap band is definitely going to be really stretched out, so what you can do is release this carefully and this whole thing will slide up. And now I did not put an additional set of black bands as a spacer since it's the very end. So now what I'm going to do is just take the 2 bands from the one side, leave it on my hook, and get the other 2 bands. And now I can just carefully pull this out. And now what I'm going to do is take the 2 bands closest to the end of my hook and slide them through the other 2. I'm going to pull that really nice and tight, make a slip knot. I don't want that to come apart. And then what I'm going to do is just hide these black bands. I'll just go inside of some of the other black bands and pull this through. And what you can do is, if you're afraid that it's going to come apart, you could separate these 2 and you can tie them as if you were tying a shoelace. Make a loop and then pull the one end through and pull that nice and tight. You can do that a couple of times to make a knot. That way you'll be extra sure that it's not going to come apart. And then I just want to slide it through again, get these loops hidden. Maybe one more time here. And so this is your tail feather, and you might have to do a little bit of adjusting. You want these to be nice and straight. And so now I'm just going to set this to the side, and I'm going to work on the main body of the turkey. So for this part, what I'm going to do is take my 1 row of pins and I'm going to move it all the way to the other end. So that way I just have a space in the middle. I still want the rows to be even with one another. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make the wings. And in order to do that, I'm going to take 1 single brown band and I'm going to quadruple it. So I'm placing it on my hook. I'm going to twist and put it back on, twist, put it back on, and then one more time. You'll see 4 loops on your hook. And then I'm going to take 2 more brown bands, grab them with my hook, and then I just want to slide this quadrupled band on. Make sure all 4 loops go on there. Slide that right to the center. And now I'm going to stretch this across, so I'm just going to hook it on one of the pins over on the left and stretch it across to the right. And now I'm going to take the bottom 2 bands on the right here and I'm going to pull them down to the pin below, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side, so it's going to make a bow tie shape. And then I'm going to take 2 more brown and they're going to go from the left to the right on the bottom. And I'm going to repeat that for the next set of pins above. And now I'm taking the bottom 2 bands and pulling them over the top and into the middle here. And push that down. Now I'm going to put another set of brown bands straight across the bottom. And then another set straight across the top. And now I'm going to remove the bottom 2 bands from all of the pins. Just going to slide this till it's in the middle there. And now I'm going to take the bands on the top here. On the right, I'm going to move them down, and then on the left as well. And then again, I want the bottom two bands on either side to come off. And now what I'm going to do is take a different hook. I'm going to use this as my holding hook. If you don't have another hook, that's okay. When you take this off, you can just slide it onto a pen or pencil. But if you have two hooks, I would recommend using the second hook. And you just want to take the two bands on the one side, leave them on your hook. You can hold it in place with your finger so it doesn't come off. Pick up the other two bands, and then that's going to be one of the wings. So I'm just going to repeat this pattern all over again. I'm going to quadruple a brown band, and now slide it onto two brown. It's going to stretch straight across. And now I'm pulling the bottom two bands down from either side, making that bow tie shape. One set of bands across the bottom, and then the top, and then remove the bottom here. Push that down, and then repeat that again with two bands. And then you're just taking off that bottom layer. Put it in the middle and push down. Now last time we took the bands from the top and moved them down, so I want to do the opposite this time since this wing's going to be on the other side, so I want the bottom to move up. It does make a bit of difference in the overall look of it when you're done, so that's why I do it this way. And now the bottom set of bands can come off. And now again, I'm going to take my holding hook that already has the one wing on, and I'm going to pick up the bands from the right, and then also the left. And so now that's my other wing. Now I'm going to start with the head of the turkey. So I'm taking two bands at once, and I will do this on the fourth pin up on the left hand side is where I'm going to start. We're just going to be working with 6 pins in the shape of a rectangle, and these two bands are going to stretch diagonally up and to the right. It's going to be a long stretch, so it's actually going to the second pin above but then on the opposite side. So you're just skipping a row, and we do want this to twist. And then I'll take two more brown, and I'm going to that second pin above here, and I'm going to make an X with another long diagonal stretch. I'm going to twist this also. And then finally I'm taking another set that's going straight across, and that is going to twist as well. Now I'm going to take single rubber bands, just one. I'm going to start on the bottom right, and I'm going to outline all 6 pins. So it's just following around in that rectangle shape. And now I want to remove the bottom 2 bands from all of the pins. And you always want to keep pushing down after every layer. And now on this next layer, I'm going to put the eyes. So in order to do that, I just want to quadruple a black band. So I'm just wrapping it around until there's 4 loops on my hook. And then I'll take a single brown rubber band and I'm just going to slide this on. Try and get it right about in the middle. And I'll just set that down for now and I'll do the other one. So you're just sliding it on and moving it to the center. So I'm just going to outline these 6 pins again, starting at the bottom right, but this time I want the eyes to go on. So this is going to be the front of my turkey on the right here. So I'm just placing this band on. And now I'll do the other one here for the other eye. And now I'll just continue around with single bands. And now I'll remove the bottom 2. Push that down. And now I'm going to take 2 more brown, and this time they're going to stretch all the way around all 6 pins at once. So I'm just going to start on the left hand side and I'll stretch this all the way up to the top over those 3 pins. And now I'll just take my hook and stretch it the rest of the way. Just find it a little bit easier to do it that way. And then the bottom needs to come off. Now when you have the band stretched around all the pins, these center ones are the hardest to get off. So you definitely want to have these bands pushed down to the bottom. Just makes it a little bit easier, because as you're grabbing these in the middle and you're trying to pull them off, a lot of times that center band at the top wants to pop off. And I'm pushing that down. And for this next step, I'm going to add the beak. It's a little bit tricky to do. And what I'm going to do is take 1 single yellow band and I'm going to quadruple it. And now I'm going to take 3 other yellow bands. And what I want to do is get them all on my hook here, and I want to slide this quadrupled band into the middle. And now what I want to do is get all 3 of these bands to get either side of them. So I'm just going to start here on the left. I'm going to gently pull to see where the other side of that is. And I can tell that it's this one here. So what I'm going to do is take both of those bands, I'm going to get them on my hook, both of the loops here, and I'm going to put that on the bottom pin here on the right. And now I want to find another set. So let me just pull this gently and I can see which 2 loops I need. And now this is going to stretch to the top right. Get both of those on. And now I have 1 more set of bands here, or it's actually 1 band, but a set of loops. And I need that to go in the middle here. But I want to get the bottom to go on first, so let me just grab the bottom of the loop, slide that on. Uh-oh, it wants to come all the way through. See if I can save it here. Yes, I was able to get it. As I said, it's a little tricky. And now I want to put the other end on. Now what I'm going to do before I add the next layer is I want to reach down through this center pin on the right, and I'm going to push back on the top yellow bands. I'm going to grab this bottom brown and I'm going to pull it up through. It's going to be tight, so just be careful. Make sure you don't lose this brown band off of your hook. And now I'm going to slide these yellow bands off just in the center. Make sure they're staying on the outer pins. And now I want this brown band to go right back on that pin there. And now I'm going to put another layer of brown that's going to outline the rectangle. So these are just single bands again. And now I want to remove the bottom. So on these two pins on the right side here, on the ends, you're going to have 4 bands to come off. So you're going to do the 2 brown and then also the 2 yellow. In the middle here it's just the brown. And now again on the end here it's 4. And on the back side it's just going to be the bottom 2. And they are going to be a little bit tight there. And push that down. And now I'm going to do a layer, 2 bands each. It's going from the bottom left to the top right. It's going to be that long stretch, diagonal. And now 2 more bands are going to cross that from the top left to the bottom right. And then 2 more bands straight across the center. And now the bottom layer comes off. And push that down. And for this next layer, I'm just going to be tracing around all 6 pins here with single rubber bands. And now this bottom layer comes off. Push that down. And I'm going to repeat that again, that same pattern. And then when I get done looping this, we're going to add the wings. So I'm just removing the bottom 2 again. And now I have my 2 wings on my holding hook, and if you look closely at them, as I said earlier, they are a little bit of a different shape. So they make like a little mountain or a little V shape, and I want that to be facing up. I want the tip of the V to be facing up. So I'm going to put this one on. I want the bands that are closest to the end of my hook, I want them to go on the bottom right. So I'm just going to take these 2 loops off and put them on. I'm doing this so that the point of the wing or the edge of the wing is facing up. And then on the other side here I'm just stretching out and putting the other 2 bands. So that's pointing like this. And the same thing here on the other side. I want it to be pointing upward here. And I'm taking the 2 loops here, putting them on the right, and now I'm going to stretch this across and put the other 2 on the left. Going to push this down, not going to do any looping until I get the next layer on. So once again, I'm going to outline the pins. I'm actually going to do this same pattern for the next 3 layers. So this will be the first one. And now on the ends here, you're actually going to have 4 bands where we put the wings on. So I'm just taking them 2 at a time, and 2 in the middle, and 4 on the end. And then the same thing over here. It's going to be 4, 2, and then 4. Push that down. And now I'm going to do that 2 more times. So it's a lot of the same pattern, and then every once in a while we switch it up. So I'm going to loop this, and then I'll have 1 more layer. We're just about done here, other than making the feet and attaching the tail feathers. So I know it's a lengthy process, but I think it's worth it in the end. And now after I loop this, I'll show you how to do the feet. Push this all down. The next thing we're going to do is add the feet. So in order to do that, I'm just going to do this on my hook. It's a little bit tough to do just because the bands are pretty tight. But what you're going to do is take a yellow rubber band and you're going to quadruple it. And then I'm going to take another yellow band and double it. So I'm just putting it on, twisting, and then putting it back on once. And then I want to slide this to the end of my hook. This is the tricky part because it's so small. I want to carefully slide these 4 bands on my hook. Slide it onto that doubled band, and now I need to get these 2 loops to go back on my hook. So you can see what it looks like there. That's going to be one section of the foot, and then I want to repeat that again. So I'm quadrupling 1 band, and then I'm going to double another band. So it's just 2 loops there. Stretch that out. And now I want to slide these 4 loops onto that into the middle. Got to get them all on there. It's a little bit tough to do. And now these other 2 loops that were in my fingers, I'm going to slide back on. So now you should have 2 sections of the foot that look the same there. And now what I'm going to do is take another yellow band and double it. And now I need to slide all of this stuff that's on my hook onto this doubled band. So I'm just going to pinch this in my fingers here, and you can take your time with this. I'll just do a couple at a time. So get the first 2. And then the next 2. And now I want to do the next ones. So I'm just doing 2 at a time here. And then I have the final 2. It's definitely very full and tight. Again, I have these 2 loops in my fingers, and I'm going to slide them right back on the hook there. And then that's what it should look like. Now I'm going to take one more band and double it. And I'm going to slide these on. So what I'm going to do for this is actually pull down on these, turn my hook, twist it a little bit, and then slide them through. And get those 2 loops to go back on. And so that's going to be one of the feet of the turkey. So I'm going to put that on the right hand side here at the bottom, and I'm going to slip all 4 of these bands on this pin here. So I'm just going to stretch this out. You got to make sure they all make it on there. And now that's one of the feet. And I'm going to repeat that again. So you're quadrupling a band and then doubling the next one, sliding it to the edge and pinching it with your fingers. And now you want to get all these loops on, and then slide this back on your hook, and then repeat that again. So 4 times, then 2, and we're going to slide this on. Put the 2 loops back on the hook. So now you have 2 that look the same on there. Now I'm doubling this next one. And this is the trickiest part, I think, is sliding all of these bands onto there. So I just like to do it a little bit at a time. Let me move this a little bit. So that's one section. And I'm going to do it again here. And then I need to get these loops to go back on. And now one last time, you're going to double. And then you're going to slide it through all 4 and get the loops back on. So that's your other foot that's going to go on the top right pin here. So I'll just get all 4 of these loops to go on. Now what I want to do is reach down through these yellow bands and pull up the brown band and then slide the yellow band off. So it's the same concept that we used with the nose. So I'm just going to reach down through all of the yellow bands and push back. Pick up the 2 brown. I'm going to leave them on my hook. Pull this all the way up through. And now I can slide off the yellow. And then the brown bands go right back on. Do the same thing at the top here. Push back on all of the yellow, make sure they all get behind your hook. And then the brown come up. And the yellow slide off. And the brown go back on. And now I'm taking another set of brown bands, and they're going to stretch over all 6 pins at once. So I'm just going to stretch it on the left, and then again I'm just going to pull these over. and the bottom layer comes off. Going to push this down, and now I need the end bands to move into the center. So from the bottom right here, be very careful. These are tight because they're stretched around all the pins, so they are a little bit harder to work with. Make sure you don't lose it. Those go in, and then from the top here they come down. Same thing here on the other side. The top two will come down. And then the bottom two will come up. You might want to use your finger to push down on the body part. It might help you a little bit here. And now the bottom 4 bands need to come off of each of the sides. Again, they are very tight. So that's just going to leave you with 2 bands on each of the sides. You're going to take your last brown band, and it's just going to be single, straight across. And the bottom 2 bands are coming off of either side. And then I'm going to pick up each of these bands. I'm going to leave that on my hook. And you can see your bird here. He might need a little bit of adjusting. I'll do that in a minute. What I'm going to do first is take the tail feather section here, and I'm going to slip one of the brown bands off of my hook, and I'm going to slide my hook through this cap band. And then I want the part that I just slipped off my hook, this brown, to go back on. And now I'm just going to slide one through the other, and I'm going to pull that really tight. Not too tight that you break the band, but tight that it's not going to come apart. And I want to just reach through and get this band to go towards the back. That's part of how he's going to connect on there. And so we have it connected at the bottom here, but we also need to connect it somewhere towards the middle or closer to the top. So in order to do that, you're going to have this loop here in the back, and that's okay. It's going through this cap band. What I'm going to do is take a band. It doesn't matter what color you use because you won't see it, but I'll just grab a red one here, and I'm going to reach through here. Going to go all the way through. See if I can get a good angle. Go through some of the red bands, and then I'm going to see where I want it to connect on the turkey, and I'll just slide it through a couple of the brown bands. Just make sure they're not going all the way through to the front, just on the back there. And now I'm going to take this red band. I'm just going to pull it all the way through. And now I'm going to take the other end of that red band, and I'll just slip it through here in between the feathers. And then what you might also want to do is take this brown band. So actually, let me take this end red one off. I'll pick up the brown, get that in the center, and then get the other red. And now I can slide this through both of those. And then I'm going to pull that nice and tight to make another slip knot. So that way I'm just holding on to this brown band, and now I've connected it to the actual turkey. And then you can just hide this in the back. I mean, really nobody will see it anyway, but you can just wrap it around, wrap it through a couple of times, just so it's not hanging loose. And then here is your turkey. So as I said, you might want to adjust him a little bit. I think I'm going to pull his body down and his feathers up a little bit. And as far as his beak goes, you might want to pull that out a little bit more in the front. And you can squeeze his neck a little bit. If his wings or his feet need adjusting, you can do that. And I almost forgot, you have to add his little waddle. So in order to do that, you just need one single red band, and you just want to go along the side of his nose here, his beak. Just go through a couple of the yellow bands. You're just going to pull this red band down through, and then get it back on your hook. Slide one end through the other and pull down. And then there you have his little waddle. And here's the other one that I made at the beginning, so you can see what he looks like. I hope that everyone enjoyed making their turkeys. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!